And on today's show, how 412E3 products may compete with the S&P 500. Part 4 of this week's series on 412E3 retirement plans with nationally recognized 412E3 expert Nick Palavita, MBA and attorney. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 4.
Steve. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, we're always talking about fully insured plans, and everybody starts going like this. Well, that's fine, Nick, but I'm yawning at the internal rate of return. And I think sometimes this is where the debate comes a little bit. I want to talk about this today because when we talk about net, I think people forget about this. In Tuesday's show, we talked about the expense loads of a 412E3 defined benefit plan, right? Were exceedingly less than a 401k. And we are talking about the tax efficiencies where we get the Medicare, Social Security, Social Security and Medicare. Those numbers, when you get to net, really help out our conservative products. Right. But let's talk about the S&P from this chart, because I noticed you compared a pension annuity, which is a fixed rate, take it to the bank, you know what you're getting way up front. It might be more, but it won't be less because of the contractual guarantees. Walk me through this chart, because I find this a little fascinating that we're looking at the last, now we don't have 2013 up here, we have the numbers. If you want to do it, if you say, Steve, send it to me, we're happy to do it. But walk me through this chart, and remember, it's a very sensitive mondo.
I will walk you through the chart, but okay, first of all, Steve, remember we're dealing with a pension annuity. I wrote an article for the Journal of Accountancy, which is read by all 550,000 CPAs on this very issue. And first thing we put in the pension annuity, it has no loads. And they do what they call peer review. They couldn't believe that. So they went and they called the home offices of major insurance companies. Are you sure there's no loads taken out of the pension annuity? And they said, that's correct. It's no loads. So if they guarantee you 3%, it's 3% net plus the crediting rate. Nothing's taken out of the account. It's not a variable annuity where they load the annuity up. So it's a little different product, okay? Then what we did, and this goes back because I've been working in this area since around 2001, we actually did a study from the year 2000 comparing it with the S&P 500, no load. In other words, you're paying no fees, just pure raw rates of return on the S&P 500, including dividends being put back into reinvested. Right. And we said, okay, let's compare the data. Let's say that I put $100,000 in my pension annuity starting at the year 2000. Of course, timing is everything, and you chose the wrong year. But that's when we got started, so that's the reason we did it. And we started doing these plans back then, okay? And the pension annuity grew in the anemic rate back then of 5.5%. Remember, you get 3%, the crediting rate, whichever is greater, that was the crediting rate. The S&P 500, unfortunately, went down 9%, so they're a little negative. As you go through the data, the next year you put another 100,000, we went up 5.85. The S&P 500, unfortunately, went down 11%. Third year again, we went up 4.85. The S&P went down 22%. Fourth year, we went up 3.7. The S&P 500 jumped dramatically, went up 28.69%. If you go through this data track and you added in 2012 and 2013, and you said, I'm going to elect a year to retire, do you know the S&P 500 beat the pension annuity only 3 out of 13 years? You'd been better off in the pension annuity rather than the S&P 500. Now that's remarkable when you think about it, and here's the reason why. 80 to 90% of money managers in the country do not beat the S&P 500 on a consistent basis. So we've had clients, and I keep telling them, look, and we had some clients have 30 million in their pension. I said, you can diversify, go traditional and put some money in some risky investments, and they still stay with the pension annuity, predominantly because of the data history of it. It actually has outperformed the S&P 500.
Now you're just doing the returns and the performance issues. We're not talking about the AUMRIA fee. We're not talking about the statement of information fee on the mutual fund or any mutual fund actual costs. We're just talking about the return.
We're just talking about returns, no fees, no loads. You're getting raw returns from the S&P 500. So this is something that I know this will throw money managers off. You're kidding me. I made 28%. By the way, one of those 13 years was this year or last year. Okay, in 2013, you'd been better off in the S&P 500 over the 14-year track. The other 2 years actually occurred right before the crash. It occurred in 2006, 2007. So that tells me something, okay? If you're better off in the S&P 500 for 2 consecutive years, if you go through historical data, the third year it crashes, you're better off back in the pension annuity. But again, retirement, you don't know when you're going to retire, and you don't know what the S&P 500 is going to be. But when you beat the S&P 500, 10 out of 13 years, you may have to look at the pension annuity being a very solid investment platform for a pension plan.
I would say also remember the psychological profile of a lot of baby boomers now. They're saying like, if you can get me anywhere near close to decent returns, I may not care about the 1 year anomaly of last year or whatever. I'm starting to be so conditioned that I want to be able to take something to the bank, know it's going to be there. People have changed.
Right. Well, the thing is, remember, the pension was designed to be your solid ace in the hole. So once we set up the pension for the client, because this is going to be their ace in the hole, then it gives them the freedom to go gamble your little monies out in the stock market, gamble your 401k in the
Could you use a cash balance plan for that, for your mutual funds?
Yeah, you maybe do that. But remember, cash balance plans also have to be conservatively invested because you have to guarantee the benefits there too.
That's right.
So in your pension world, I call it pension world, you want to make sure you stay on the conservative side. Now, in your 401k/profit sharing plan, because you can have both today, that's where you get in your aggressive investments. Because if you lost money in your 401k, is there any penalty? No, there's no penalty. You just don't have much for retirement. If you gained a lot of money in your 401k, any penalty? No, you just have more for your retirement. But a pension's different. If you lose money, you as the plan sponsor get penalized. If you make too much money, by the way, you actually have a 50% reversion tax. So it doesn't benefit you to gamble in your pension. If you want to do your gambling, do it outside the pension, 401k, profit sharing, or your individual accounts.
When we come back from the break, we're going to walk through kind of a nice example that'll really give you the idea of the impact of this. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the informed risk guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to the second segment. Nick, I'm looking at some of these examples, and I want to show this 412E3 plan example. It not only has the huge deductibility and contribution issues, which I think is a thing we're going to talk about tomorrow, and you won't want to miss this because you're going to see numbers, six-figure deductible numbers that just stagger the imagination. But why don't you walk me through your basic secret sauce on this first case here? And let's just walk down the basic concept, and then we'll go to the second section so that we can really show why this is so powerful.
Okay, first of all, you said the secret sauce. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the secret sauce. And I was doing a seminar for the University of Denver, a graduate tax program there. And the first thing I tell people, I said, well, I've got a larger group. I've got 10 people in my group. And, I don't want to set up a defined benefit plan and have to contribute to all my employees. This happens all the time, I can tell you, in pension world. And the first thing I tell them, I say, well, you don't have to put everybody in the pension. You only need to bring 40% of the employees in the pension plan. You can exclude the other 60%. And they fall out of the chair and they go, when was that rule put into the Internal Revenue Code? 1974. It's 401A26. It's been around for a long time. And this is like the secret sauce for the enrolled actuaries. They go, you give me a group of 4 doctors and 6 employees. I bring the 4 doctors in the pension. The 6 employees go in the 401k profit sharing plan. They call that carve-outs, they call it combo plans, but it's something you must know because I can tell you the CPAs, a lot of them, some of them do, but a lot of them don't know that. You don't have to bring everybody in the defined benefit plan. So you can carve out 60%, just get rid of them right off the bat. It's been the code since 1974.
As long as you offer this other plan,
as long as you offer a 401k profit sharing plan or a profit sharing plan that gives them not the 3% safe harbor, but a 7.5% gateway, they call it, test. So here we have an example of this where we have 2 doctors making $200,000 each, and we have employees making 40, 30, 25, 20, 20, and 20. And when you look at their ages, usually you can discriminate based on 2 things, age and compensation. So if you're older, I can put more money in the plan. Why is that? Well, if you're age 55, you only have 10 years to retire because normal retirement age in the United States is age 65. It's been in the code for years, okay? So if you're age 55, you got 10 years to fund for your benefits. But if you're age 20, you have like 45 years. So you put a lot less in for a 20-year-old given the same salary as you can for a 55-year-old. The other thing you can discriminate, this is permissible discrimination, is salary. If you're making $200,000, I can put a lot more money into the plan for you because I have to return your income, or I can design a plan that returns your income at normal retirement age. If you're making $20,000, I only need to fund for the $20,000 benefit. Because remember, defined benefit plans, you look at everything on benefits based on your age and your salary, as opposed to defined contribution plans, it's a percentage of pay. So it's a whole different mantra.
The two discrimination, age, and the compensation. Now, I actually got that right. I'm surprised I caught that on the first pass.
Right.
So I have the shorter my timeline, the greater my contribution.
Right.
And then I may be able to say my executives or my key employees of the group, LLC, whatever it is, they are going to be able to be carved out because of comp.
Right.
All right. So now that I've gotten those two issues, I can kind of think about how my census is going to be determined. Okay, now walk us through this.
Okay, right. Now the thing is, this is typical, and this is the work that the enrolled actuary does. And once they get the demographics, they're saying, okay, what do I have to put into the plan? Now, half the clients are physicians and dentists out there, and they want all the money to go to them. And just letting you know, this is the marching orders. And the other half are high-tech or niche businesses. They want the contribution to go to them, not to their employees. We've heard that over and over again. So here we have the two doctors in the plan. We have the employees. Now you'll notice that we have some in the defined benefit plan, and we have some in the 401k plan. In this case, we always have to have at least 40% in the defined benefit plan. But look at the contributions. Amy's getting $3,000. Beth is $1,500, Charles is $800, but Dr. Smith gets $152,000. Why? Because Dr. Smith has to replace his $200,000 income, where Amy only has to replace a $35,000 or $20,000 income. And Dr. Smith is older; he has a shorter period of time to fund, so he's going to deduct $152. Will Stewart $503. Now you'll notice Dr. Jones is making the same amount, only $10,000. Why is that? Because there's a rule in the code. If you're highly compensated employees, there's no non-discrimination testing. So I can give Dr. A different contribution level than Dr. B. That's another part of the secret sauce a lot of people don't know about. And a lot of producers, they'll fail in showing the correct plan for the client because the client says, hey, we're partners together, but I'm an older doctor. I want to put in a lot for me. You're the younger doctor, you're paying student loans. You want less than you. I heard it had to be uniform. It doesn't have to be uniform if you're a highly compensated employee. There's no non-discrimination testing. So when you look at the E-bars, that's mainly for the enrolled actuaries. They're called employee benefit accrual rates. This is how you do your group testing to make sure your plan passes non-discrimination forms of benefits. But this plan will pass, and so what happens, the result is what the clients want. The enrolled actuaries want to know, how'd you get there? Okay, how'd the E-bars work out? But the clients don't care. They want to know, what is the result? The result is Dr. Smith put away $152,000, Dr. Jones $10,000, and the maximum employee that they had to put in was $3,000. And then the client loves it because they get to deduct all of it, and then they get the lion's share. And they call this the cross-tested combo plan. It is what the enrolled actuaries basically, it makes their bread and butter. It's part of the secret sauce that's out there.
Again, the incentive for these huge six-figure deductions are so huge. And we're going to continue this discussion tomorrow because I think this is major area to start trolling and prospecting new clients for in small to medium-sized businesses. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor, your legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. And don't forget, you can view any of our past episodes at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you can be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. See you tomorrow.